It's just you and I, so. Rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Go down. Look for a motion to adopt the agenda unless there's anything else that we need to add. Good.
Chairman, if we can pull item number 7 off.
Item number 7. 7?
That's the MIDC appointment recommendation.
Oh. Okay. You don't have any updates on that one? We'll pull that from the agenda. With that being pulled, I'd like to make.
I make a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll support that motion. Okay, all those in any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Janelle, looks like you're first up.
Hi, for April and May, we had revenue totaling $118,906.97. Expenditures, that number is wrong. It was $152,874.00, leaving us with an end of month balance of $109,132.58.
So what's the corrected balance slowly?
The correct balance is on there, the $109,132.58.
Total expenditures?
Expenditures were $152,874.41.
Thank you.
So what was the discrepancy?
I had taken the blended funding that we give to the sheriff's office every year. We paid that in March. And when I did April and May's, I forgot to subtract it off. It was already accounted for in March and it just carried over on the Excel sheet. We've been operating about 6 weeks with a probation officer out and I've been covering Mount Morency 2 days a week. So I've been underwater and I just missed it.
Okay. We'll let it go this time.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Anything else that you want to tell us about other than you've been covering 2 different counties?
No, I'm working on the fiscal year budget for next year. It is gonna be substantially different, I think, than this year, although I don't see an increase. They've increased our reimbursement rate to 75%, so that's helpful, but we're probably, based on what we have to do now, we're either gonna have to bring a new employee on, or I don't really know how else we're gonna do it, but our numbers are through the roof. And with the changes in allocation, I think it actually will cost us less money to hire someone. And certainly if one new employee keeps one kid out of placement, we're ahead.
Yeah.
One full-time employee is cheaper than one kid in placement for the year.
So you said you're down a probation officer?
Well, we have one on FMLA. Today was his first day back. He had a family emergency. And he was out for 6 or 8 weeks. And just came back. So I've been.
Okay, so you've just been covering. You don't have to replace a person then?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. Hopefully that's a good thing.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for the meeting. Thanks for coming. Kim, 911 emergency management monthly update.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Ludlow, welcome.
Thank you.
So I just have some updated numbers for you. We didn't cover the statistics last month. We were talking about our new equipment purchase. Thank you for getting that contract signed, Commissioner Kozlowski. I've sent that off to all the places it needed to go today. So I'll just circle back ever so slightly. For March, for 911 calls, we had 748 incoming calls and 38 texts to 911. For April, that went down slightly to 708, but we bounced back up in May to 773 911 calls for the month. And then for texts, we went from 38 in March, 26 in April, and then 34 in May. For our CAD entries, just an explanation for Commissioner Ludlow. You've not heard these before. So the CAD system is where the dispatchers enter the information from a call. They enter traffic stops, a number of different pieces of information go in there. So for March, we had 2,122 CAD entries. For April, we were up to 2,322. And May, we are up to 2,448. So May was considerably busier, and we do expect that to continue through the summer with the nicer weather and the summer holidays. As I said, we've submitted the signed contract for our new equipment. And everything is just chugging along smoothly. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
All right. Bill, do you have any questions?
No.
You're just in time. She was just asking if we had any questions for 911.
No, I'm good with that.
All righty. I was just sharing our numbers are up slightly, and that's typical for this time of the year, so we're prepared to handle whatever comes along.
To hear.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Good. Next up, we have, wow,
Ambulance, oh,
yeah, we're breezing through this. So we got the ambulance fund monthly report, which was attached. Since you're here, Rob, you want to give us any updates that we might? Came all the way here, you got to tell us something.
I did. What do you want for updates? So obviously we're still working on the ambulance.
Yep.
As far as securing
We have a meeting, don't we?
the 24th. Correct. And I figured we'd probably address that then. When we're talking about the ambulance.
Yep,
Obviously, we have the millage coming up,
yep.
so that's an issue for
It's an issue?
it. And it's an issue because we want it to pass.
Don't say it's an issue, just
County needs it to pass.
think positive, yeah. Okay. Okay, so,
Other than that, our call volume is up. This is summertime. I'm gonna guess that our call volume's probably on average, probably about 20 plus calls a day right now. And that's just a rough off the top of my head guess.
what kind of calls are you dealing with?
Mostly EMS calls. So I mean, we're getting a lot of chest pain, we're getting a lot of mental health requests, those type of things. It's our normal calls. Nothing's changed for the summer yet, but we're not getting an influx of more traumatic type calls.
So what's a mental health request kind of call? What is that?
Somebody that's having a mental health crisis, whether it's suicide, depression, that type of stuff.
So people actually call that want to commit suicide?
Mhm.
Oh. I didn't know they did that.
We do that quite a bit. We work with the law enforcement agencies very closely. A lot of times they get the call first and then we get called for the transport and evaluation.
So it seemed to me it would sound, if someone's making a phone call, they don't really want to do it, because if you wanted to do it, you might not make a call.
99% of the time, it's they're looking for help.
Yeah.
And that's their way of doing it. Other times people will, they will overdose, they will cut themselves.
Yeah.
They threaten that they're harm to themselves, so.
What did you say? What percentage of mental health ones? Roughly?
It's been high lately.
I would say 20%,
well,
and that's strictly without looking at the
Yeah.
numbers, not having them in front of me.
Oh, I mean, you would know better than probably us. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know anything who's calling regarding
We
what,
probably get 1 to 2 a day.
it's a lot.
Some of them are
Sometimes
third
more.
party also, like, they call, like, if I'm having a problem, I'll call Rob and kind of unload on him, Rob will call Central and say, hey, Eric's having an issue. So
You call him with your issues?
I would.
Okay,
A lot of them are third party, and you don't trust any of the info that they.
yeah, yeah.
I have a question. I didn't hear what you said. What's the status of the new ambulance?
We're still looking for a vendor. We've got a vendor. The problem is the ambulance we were looking for has since somebody else has bought it.
You have the chassis and
Nope, we don't have any of that.
you have Nothing, right?
Nothing. So basically what the vendor is, we used to spec out an ambulance to build it and it would go for bid. The problem is when we do that, we added two things. Time is one thing, it'll add up to 36 months for what they call a custom build, and it also increases the price. So what they do now is most people do not do a custom build. They take whatever's being built on the line and available. And that's what we were originally looking for. The problem is there's now nothing that's available.
Nothing's available.
For any of the vendors.
So you don't know when you're gonna,
We don't know.
okay, all right.
That's hopefully on the 24th, when we sit down with John and Jesse, we'll be able to iron that out as far as what you guys need as far as the county to be able to make that happen.
Okay.
So, because we're gonna need basically some boundaries for it, because we can't do a competitive bid, because nobody's doing competitive bids unless you have that time and cost to bid.
Thank you.
So you were actually, you said you were looking at an ambulance that was in the process and then somebody else snatched it up?
Yep.
How do they do that?
Because they have money up front.
Oh,
So basically, we have a window of about 1 to 3 days. That's why we were looking for parameters from the county to allow us to secure one. Because then what we would do is give them a good faith deposit, which would lock that in for final approval, but basically would be like pre-approving for the purchase.
okay.
So we'll work out those details on the 24th as to how we can do it, to make it happen. Because we're in real different times than we were the last time we bought an ambulance, brand new. Since COVID, they just you don't spec them out because nobody's doing it. It puts it further down the line. So what they do is they plan on so many ambulances being built extra that are available, and it's on a first come, first served basis.
When you say spec them out, you're getting, you're like customizing the thing, or
Yep.
they don't just build all ambulances are the same?
You can get them built however you want. The ones that are on the line are a standard model, which fits what we're looking for. We don't ask for any special type things like we used to at one point. All the equipment now is standard, so we don't have to have special cabinets to house their stuff.
I was gonna say, I would think that more people would rather go with the standard ambulance because you can get it, because if you're looking for an ambulance and now you're talking 2 years out, that's a long time to wait for a new ambulance.
Correct. But again, that's why they do it on it's a supply and demand thing. It's first come, first serve. So basically, if a vendor knows that we're looking for an ambulance, they know about when the next one's gonna be put on the line that can be available. And so they'll call you and say, hey, we've got this rig with the specs. They'll send it to you. Here's the price tag on it. You got up to 2 or 3 days to give me a yay or nay and give me a deposit. Otherwise, they just keep shopping for somebody that's looking for ambulances.
Okay,
Bigger companies like MMR, which is a private company, they'll buy 100 trucks a year because they're national. So they're ones that already have them built on specs, so they know that they're gonna buy 5 a month for 1 month. So those are the ones that are being built specifically for them. Small company like us that buys one every 2 or 3 years, they're not gonna sit on one for us.
what was it, who did you say will buy?
MMR
What is that? Is that a,
is mobile medical response.
oh,
They're a private company, they're a private ambulance service.
okay.
Seller's market.
Okay, so if everyone's had an opportunity to look at the ambulance report. If anyone has any questions, if not, then I want for a motion to approve
Okay, I'm at a meeting, okay?
the ambulance
Okay,
report,
I
monthly
forgot it.
report
I
received and
so
filed.
I'll be home, so, okay?
motioned.
Okay,
Yeah, but
I have a motion to receive the monthly report and look for a second. Okay, we got a second. Any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
all right,
Aye, pose same sign, okay. Then it looks like we have Veterans Affairs report. Does Dan come to this or did he just gives us the reports and then because I don't remember, I thought,
It's hit and miss.
He
And he's
doesn't-
been here before, but it's usually we just file it,
okay,
receive the file. He's come in on occasion.
that we've,
okay. So we have a motion to receive the Veterans Affairs monthly report. Second, any questions? If not, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Other discussion. We have other discussion.
the sheriff is on.
Closed session.
You can actually leave it open, that's a big deal.
Okay. You guys can stay.
This is only informational, just so you guys have the best information as we go into the budget year and knowing what our sheriff's office is providing for the community. So with the recent things happening in the news media, I just wanted to see where we were at, just for my own information. So I ran a report in our jail to see how many bookings we had from each agency from January 1st of 2023 to June 6th of 2024. So roughly a year and a half. So that year and a half, Alpena City Police brought in 369, I wouldn't say individuals, because some people could be charged with multiple crimes, but they had 369 charges that were booked into our jail. Michigan State Police, 307. And obviously we have Montmorency inmates in our jail, so they brought in 187 from Montmorency County. Alpena County Sheriff's Office was at 465 and clearly way above any other police agency. And it just, I find it interesting. And so, like I said, I just want to provide this information to you guys. That came from a jail report. Talon is a different software that we use for incident reporting in the jail. I was expecting to find a big variance because two different computer systems, but we were only off by 6 numbers when I ran it through the road patrol. 5 juveniles, so long and short of this, there was 5 juveniles ever reported with the roadside, so we're really only 1 number off. So that would have been 471 through the Alpena County Sheriff's Department. And then I broke it down by township and where the arrests happened. Alpena City, 64, and these are of the arrests Alpena County Sheriff's Office made. 64 were in Alpena City. 249 were in Alpena Township. 14 were in Green Township. 9 were in Long Rapids Township. 18 Maple Ridge. 14 Ossining. 24 in Sanborn Township. I don't know why. Ossining is Sanborn, so you would add those together. 38. Wellington Township 2, Wilson Township 78, and other jurisdictions 3. I don't know if somebody would probably, or if they pick somebody up in Presque, why they would have put 3 in there. The court system, obviously we're in the city of Alpena, so if somebody came into court and made an arrest, that's why we have a high number of Alpena City at 64. And that would be Wilson Township also, our jails in Wilson Township. So somebody walks through the front door and says, I'm turning myself in, it would show a Wilson Township arrest. So like I said, I found it interesting. I think our sheriff's office, our deputies, our guys and girls are out doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I'm happy to report these high numbers. I guess as a community member, I'm not excited to tell you we have lots of arrests, but well, it is what it is. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
So this weekend, I can't work on over the weekend, and I came back and I was talking to Jesse this morning about this. And actually I brought in the article to show him. And I told him I was kind of very frustrated and that would have been the way that news article went this morning, or I don't know, this weekend. And you were at the meeting when one commissioner mentioned a possible way forward would be to potentially cut that service. And I've made this known before that I don't like to do threats, and I kind of feel like that was a threat. But I also made the comment that we weren't doing that. But the only thing that was put in the article, and I was meaning, and I told Jesse I was going to reach out to Steve this morning, but the one thing that was put in there, and if you read that, you would have assumed that the whole Board of Commissioners was looking at that. We had one committee with 3 people on it, the Budget Committee, that talked about, and again, the one commissioner that mentioned potential way forward would be to cut the road patrol or whatever. And again, my frustration goes back to one commissioner made a comment. That whole article made it sound like all the commissioners were agreeing on a potential way forward. And I said that day that we're not doing that.
And this is kind of the reason why I brought this to the courts on public safety, because you guys are the committee that deals with, public safety. And so just so you guys know, when I'm dealing with my staff in all this, I tell them, hey, I've been working with the commissioners. They all support us. Just hold tight, do your job every day, make yourself relevant to our community. Like we always should, just because money's tight. That's our job, is to make ourselves relevant. It does give us a little bit of, a lot of these young employees, us seasoned guys, and I've dealt with this for 3 years. Every year I get told that we might have layoffs. I get it. So it doesn't faze me, but our new guys who started 6 months ago and are raising families and bought houses, they're freaking out. And so when I come into work after a news article like that, I spend probably 3 days just putting out fires. And that's not your fault, but I just want to explain this. And so when I communicate with our staff, I tell them, hey, we're supported by our community. We're supported by our commissioners. Don't take what the media is putting out there. It's okay. Just relax. And so
Eric, we haven't made any decisions yet on anything.
I know.
We're in limbo just like you guys are.
Yep. And that was my response in the paper. Like, I have faith in our commissioners. I have faith in our community. And that's all we can do.
Well, I've talked to you quite a bit. We talk quite a bit. And I think that you would trust my, at least me being honest with you. And when I sat there and said that we are not going to cut the sheriff's road patrol, do we need to make cuts? Yes, but we need to work together as a board of commissioners to figure out where we can make cuts. And one of the biggest things that I've been talking to Jesse about lately is, where can we increase revenues? And I know you've talked about ways to increase revenues. That's my biggest thing, is I'm looking at ways that we can try to increase the revenues, as opposed to the easy thing is let's just go cut. One of the things that we've talked about also, or I've heard, and again, we've had this conversation today, that we'll have a 10% cut across the board. I just told Jesse, you cannot do that, because, and I'm just going to use the commissioner's office because that was the first one that we came to. The 10% cut was 39,000.
Right.
So how do you cut 39,000 out of the commissioner's department unless you actually cut a person? You can't do that. So, I know you have a bigger budget, but for treasurer's office, for 911, whatever you want to, IT, how do we cut 10%? How do you cut 10% out of your budget? There's probably no way you can do that. You can make cuts, but again, cuts are going to equate to, and IT is a little bit different because they have a pretty big budget, which includes other things beside personnel. But, realistically, I think what we were trying to do, what I've been communicating with Jesse, is I'd rather look at ways to try to increase some revenues here and there, as opposed to let's figure out how we're going to cut things.
And we solve that by working together, and we have, and we're going to continue. And that's.
Well, and I'd even go one step further. When you because I'll say this to you and you can relay this. If anybody has any questions, my number, they can call me up anytime. I'll tell them the same thing I'd tell you, is that it isn't my intent. Granted, I'm one commissioner. I got 2 here today, but I don't think that's our intent, is to cut the sheriff's department.
And we're past it. They're good. My staff's good.
And I think the interesting thing, when I read that article, I'm like, he spent, and I've known Steve for a while now, but he spent more time going to Eric Camp and going to, what's his name? John Grimshaw. He went to John Grimshaw to ask them about how to work this. I never got a call. Did any of you guys? None of the commissioners got a call.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that, like, for one, Eric is with a K, not with a C. You'd think the news guy would get that right. But second, the comment of MSP covering.
Yeah.
You saw the number, who's covering who?
Yeah.
The state police abandoned us and went to Oscoda County to cover Oscoda last year.
Yep.
And the sheriff's department stood tall. And I guess we're kind of going the weeds, but I guess I just want to provide you guys the information, because you guys have to make tough decisions. But we're here to work it out.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank
You
you.
just gotta be careful what you say to the newspaper.
Well, but, and I will say this, I will say this, I literally said before that meeting, be careful what you say, because one comment can take them. That was one comment out of 3 commissioners,
Yeah,
and my comment never even got mentioned,
I know. They'll
so,
paraphrase you and do everything else, but you gotta really be careful on that.
yeah. Okay, well, that looks like it was it. So unless there's anybody else that has anything we want to discuss, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Motion and second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, or same sign. Meeting's adjourned.